Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review. This is going to be for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. This is of course the 7th and final book in the Harry Potter series. So this is fantasy, low fantasy, adventure. There's actually some adventure and quest aspects to this book and a lot of coming of age aspects to this book and the series as a whole. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is book 7 of the Harry Potter series, like I just mentioned, by J.K. Rowling, and the finale. This is the last book in the series, and I'm glad to be getting to my final review of this series at least for the time being. Maybe I'll review more things or talk more about it in the future at some point regarding some things, but for now I actually do need to do a ranking video. I might try and do a ranking video at some point. That's a good idea. But anyways, I'm excited to get this review finished and out so that people can see my thoughts on this final book as I reread it this time. This book tells the culmination of the story that has been built up over the previous 6 books, and while directly tied to what has come before, it allows us the opportunity to explore new aspects of this world and story. Of course, a lot of things those new aspects are things that were founded and built and established in the earlier books, but now we're just delving into them and actually getting to understand them a lot. And so that's really fun to be able to do. Before I get into this review though, I just quickly like to say welcome to an Erudite Adventure. I'm T. If you're liking what you're seeing from us, please like, comment, and subscribe. The thing about the Harry Potter series is that there's already been so much said about it that I really have very, very little to add to the discussion. I'm not going to bring anything new to light with this review at all. There's not a whole lot more new that I can say with it. I can give my experience though. Of course, much of that is already known, especially since I talked about it in my wrap-up of the month that I read this book, which I don't know when that was at this point. October? Maybe? August? August, I think, of 2025 is when I read it, I believe. So I can give my experiences, and so we'll do that, even though most of that's already known through previous videos I made on the series. But I can also get into a bit of it again here as it is necessary. There's some minor thoughts that I can talk about that are maybe I haven't mentioned, or maybe I haven't gone quite in depth on, especially regarding this book in previous videos. To start with, I came to this series as an adult. I started reading this series as an adult, not as a kid. I watched the films when I was 19. Then shortly thereafter, I read the books for the first time. And so it was pretty much I came to these as an adult. I didn't have any nostalgia tied to them. I didn't have any reference for them as a child or anything like that. It was just something that I decided to watch at one point, and then I said, okay, I really like the movies, I want to go read the books now and see what the books actually have to say. And so I picked up the books and I really enjoyed them. And actually, the first year of the channel, which was 2020, I was finishing up the series at that point. I think I read 3 or 4 in 2019, and then in 2020 I read the final books in the series, the rest of the books in the series. So for me, there is no, again, I kind of already mentioned this actually, there's no childhood nostalgia tied to these books. That is something that I think is a bit different about my perspective on this series than it would be for many other people's thoughts and reviews and perspectives. Even a lot of other adult readers will be reading and reviewing this series as somebody who read it as a child and has a lot of nostalgia tied to it. I can look at the stories for what they are and not what I remember them being. So that's absolutely one aspect of my review and my discussion, how it can be slightly different. The other is that when I first watched the movies, I was expecting something that was much more quest focused. Of course, that's the fantasy that I was reading. I really like quests. I really like people going on adventures. And so I went into the movies expecting to get that from these fantasy books, these major, important, well-loved fantasy stories. And so, admittedly, I was a little bit disappointed with them on that front, because there wasn't really a quest aspect to the stories until I got to 5 and 6 and especially 7, because that's where there are some quest aspects that come in. Book 7 is not focused on Harry at school anymore. That's gone. That's changed. Because of the way that the series works, that's no longer an important part of this story that's being told is Harry at school. This is the quest book. This is his book where he goes on a quest. Book 7 is not focused on Harry at school anymore, but rather his journey as he navigates through the wizarding world. It builds upon what came before from the character perspective, but also from the world building perspective quite a bit as well. There's areas that we return to that we've only briefly seen, or whatever it might be. There's concepts that we explore that we had heard about and learned a little bit about, but we didn't really know very well from previous books. We learn and see so much of the world and of the magic and what can be done Secrets are revealed, stories, history, and lore are introduced that we just hadn't seen before previously. And things that seem completely unrelated come to the forefront as aspects that parallel and directly influence the main story. All those things allow us to build out a story that allows for deep theme and character exploration and follows in the tone that has been set up since about book 4, which was the true turning point in the series. And especially for me, that's when the series went from, oh, this is kind of fun, I'm kind of enjoying this, I'm liking reading them, to, oh, this is really cool, this is really good, I like this, I like how this series is changing and becoming. Admittedly, I do think both the first half of this book and the first half of the movie are the strongest parts of the Deathly Hallows. I think that that's by far the strongest, the most interesting, and it's the part that I'm most interested in with that quest aspect for sure. I could easily say that they are some of the strongest as well as my favorite parts of the entire series. After rereading the book though, I realized that a lot of my issues I have with Deathly Hallows Part 2 film are just not present in the book. The quality holds up straight through, and we come to the end in a manner that is extremely satisfactory. The emotional impact of many of the scenes were far stronger than I was expecting or remembering, and I remember sitting there and listening to those moments being sad, but also extremely impressed by the quality of the writing. I, of course, as has been the case, as is the case with most of the books that I read, but also I chose to do it with this series specifically upon reread, was I read these by audiobook. And so coming to the end of this book and wrapping up those final pieces of the series and getting those emotional payoffs and the character moments and everything, through the audiobook, I was just sitting there listening and being sad, but also extremely impressed by the quality of the writing, because Rowling does a fantastic job with the writing of this book. This last book is a fantastic and just excellent close to this series. Overall, the series is fantastic. I have a few issues, and I have a few issues with Jim Dale as the narrator. I know there's Stephen Fry narration, and I know that there's a full cast audio drama at this point as well for the series, and I want to listen to both of those at some point. But for now, I started with the Jim Dale one because that's what my library had. And they were good, there's some good things about them, and as he progresses through the series, he gets better and better. But definitely I have some minor issues with his narration of these books. But even that was something that grew on me over the course of the series. And I do think that Dale improved even as a narrator as the series progressed as well. It absolutely was a worthwhile reread for me, but caused a great difficulty for me. I now have to figure out how to rank the Harry Potter series. Before this reread, it was fairly easy. I absolutely did have a ranking for this series before I completed this reread. Afterwards though, books 5, 6, and 7 are all pretty much tied for me, so I suppose I kind of need to think on that and actually sit down and write out my thoughts as to why one book would be higher than the other, and sit down and address that problem of 5, 6, and 7 all being my favorite books in the series when you can't have 3 books that are number 1. So I need to sit down and work through that and work through my thoughts on that. But yeah, I'm very glad that I reread this series. I'm very glad that I went back through Deathly Hallows and learned that no, it's just Deathly Hallows Part 2, the film, that is not my favorite. The book really is fantastic. So anyways, that is my review for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Book 7 of the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.